This girl gave her boyfriend the silent treatment. So now, what's he supposed to do about it? Welcome to Elevate with Paul. And let's talk about the silent treatment. So, a guy sent me a comment in my YouTube and asked a question. Sometimes I can get to these, sometimes. So, we're going to do that today. He writes, Paul, what do I do in this situation? I take my girl out for a buffet. She made a statement that pissed me off, and I decided to leave. I tried to discuss this in the car, but she gives me the silent treatment for 3 days now, and I haven't spoke to her since the first day. I don't know the appropriate action to take. All right, that's fair. Let's look at what happened here. So, first of all, silent treatment, it gets talked about on the internet as if it's like this massively narcissistic thing. If you look up silent treatment or whatever, you might find stonewalling, and it's like how the narcissist, uses the silent treatment. Look, it's not everybody who gives the silent treatment, uses the silent treatment, or even, does stonewalling behavior is a narcissist. Okay. We kind of got to get off of that. A narcissist is a diagnosable personality disorder. Some of the toxic patterns and ways of communication that narcissists do can be exhibited by regular people, including yourself. Just because a regular person does the wrong thing or exhibits maybe toxic patterns, that doesn't fully make them have a personality disorder. So I just want to state that right off the bat for anyone who's searching the internet for tools regarding the silent treatment. You're going to get a lot of stuff regarding personality disorders, and that's not what we necessarily have here. Okay. So, silent treatment, what is that? It's just a form of stonewalling, which is a toxic communication pattern. So you want to build in your relationships not using stonewalling as a technique. Okay. You do that through using Luca. Okay. The Luca format. If you search Luca on my channel, that'll give you information on that format and how to have healthy conflict. All right. Having conflict in relationship is something that you need to do with your partner in a healthy way, or your relationship won't survive. The Luca format is how you do that. Okay. Now there is something called a soft next, or which is basically taking a break, right? Because emotions are too high and you need to process things, and she needs to process things. That's okay. The difference between doing that and, let's say, stonewalling is that it's understood why you're sort of separating. You're taking this break to get your emotions and your thinking in order, so you can have a productive discussion later. Stonewalling is simply preventing or a refusal to communicate, and you're doing that in order to control the other person. That is something that's not healthy. Neither of you guys should do that. So now, looking at this guy's message, all right, so he says he takes her out. She does something that pisses him off, so then he decides to leave. So first thing I'm going to do is challenge that. I think about a guy out with his girl, or let's say me out with my girl, or whatever. It would take a lot. It would have to be quite a boundary crossing for me just to get up and leave, right? Especially if it's somebody that you're with, like a LTR, okay, girlfriend, serious relationship, something like that, versus just someone you're dating. Like, so one thing if someone you're dating is acting like whatever, and you're just like, hey, I'm gonna go. They drove themselves, you drove them yourself. It's a first date, it's not going well. You leave in 10 minutes, fine, whatever, right? There's no relationship there. But I mean, to leave that person sitting there, like, just I don't know what that means. You just decided to leave, you got up. So it must have been pretty bad. And if it's not pretty bad, then you need to reevaluate your reaction. Because I'm not going to tell you whether it's right or wrong, but a lot of guys overreact, and then they expect the girl to deal with that overreaction. Look, you can't overreact. All right. And so this is where emotional and mental self-control comes in. when I do like my mindset boot camps, for example, which right now is full, but we'll be opening enrollment again probably next month. The 60-day mindset boot camp and challenge is designed for people to get emotional and mental self-control. It's something that you need in your relationships. You can't just get angry and get up and leave because you don't like something. There's other ways of handling that from a game perspective. Simply just ignoring it and being like, all right. So anyway, and then move to another topic. You can address the thing later. You know what I mean? You can and not have to address or have an argument or blowout in public. And so that's generally what you're going to do. Now, if she did do something that was greatly disrespectful, that really was something that would warrant just getting up and leaving, then okay, then that's what it is. And there's certain things, certain boundaries that certain people shouldn't cross. But again, that's probably pretty extreme. So if she's not doing something extreme to cross the boundary, you probably messed up by just getting up and leaving. You probably overreacted. All right. In which case, now you're trying to talk about it. I assume she follows you to the car, and now you're going to try to talk about it in the car. Well, you've already overreacted. Right. And now she's pissed. You're still pissed. It's not going to be a good conversation. So in this case, how you leave it is, hey, look, this is where if you overreacted, you have to take accountability. Accountability in relationships is important. And you lead the frame as a man. If you expect your girl to be accountable and you expect women to be accountable, well, guys, you need to be accountable too. You need to lead by example. All right. And so if you messed up that by overreacting, you can say, whether it's in a statement, preferably in a verbal statement, or a text message if you have to, hey, look, what you said in there or what you did in there wasn't good, but I overreacted. All right. So I recognize that I overreacted and probably shouldn't have got up and left. When you feel like you can have when you feel like we can have a healthy conversation, let's sit down and deal with it or talk about it. And that's it. All right. So you've kind of put the ball more or less in her court to sit down and have a conversation when her emotions come down after you take accountability for the part where you messed up. The thing is, to do the correct strategy for what to do in a silent treatment situation, it's best if you're in the right. All right. If you're in the wrong, okay, then you're going to want to make a statement to take accountability for that before you go on to your next step. All right. So now if you didn't do anything wrong, you don't need to do that. But if you overreacted, you need to say, hey, look, I overreacted in there. However, we still need to talk. When you feel ready, let me know. And then that's it. All right. And so let's say, if you don't have anything to take accountability for, you just simply state, hey, I understand you're upset. I'm not happy with what went on in there either. When you think you're ready for a healthy discussion about that, we'll sit down and talk. And that's it. That's how you leave it. So you make a statement. That's a frame statement of what, what's going to happen next. She understands here that she needs to, demonstrate that she's ready to have a conversation. And now your next thing that you do is you enjoy your life. Okay. Enjoy the break. All right. Focus on your work, focus on your gym activity, focus on your hobbies and your goals, focus on relaxing, do some things that without your girl that you enjoy doing, and just focus on those things, have some insight, of course, on what happened and how you plan on proceeding and talking about it. But really the ball is in her court. She needs to decide to want to sit down with you and have a conversation. What you don't want to do is try to force her to try to talk to you. All right. Someone who's using the silent treatment as a means of having power or control over you is not obviously a healthy thing to do in a relationship. You don't want to reward that behavior by continuing to chase her around or continuing to argue with her or continuing to propagate a toxic dynamic. That'll only give her the justification for what she's doing, which isn't necessarily right, because it sounds like she's stonewalling rather than saying, hey, I don't feel good about what happened. I need to take a couple days to think about it, and we'll talk when I'm ready and you're ready. She's not saying that statement, which would then mean that you were taking more of a soft next, right, versus a stonewalling. Instead, she's just not talking to you, what it sounds like anyway. So that's not healthy, but that's fine. You make your statement and you wait for her to be ready, and then you enjoy your life. Now, if she didn't value the relationship and doesn't value you and never comes back, well, then there's your answer. You know that you had very weak frame in this relationship and that this girl had lower desire for you, and all the more reason to move on and get over it and get a bit better girl, right? So if she's not willing to come back, have a conversation when the ball is in her court to do so, that's on her. Now you can reopen, and say, hey, I don't know how you're feeling, but if you're ready to talk, I got some free time after work today. If you want to come over, you can reopen that, a couple times or whatever. That's fine. But if she's continuing to stonewall, let her, and if she's refusing to communicate, then that's going to lead to the breakup. Okay. Eventually what's going to happen though, 9 out of 10 times, is she's going to want to sit down and talk. And when you do that, go back to my Luca, my pod class I did on Luca. Go back to my short video on Luca. That's the format you need to use when communicating with your partner. All right. And set the standard during the action plan. So the action plan, you're setting the standard of not doing the silent treatment anymore. All right. Basically saying, hey, we don't stonewall each other. That's a toxic way of handling things. I can understand if you don't want to talk though. You just got to communicate, say, look, I don't feel like talking right now because I don't feel good about this, and we'll talk later. So just to be sure that we're not trying to manipulate each other or play any kind of games, we don't stonewall each other. We communicate. And if we can't, if emotions are too high for us to talk, then we're going to communicate that until the time that we feel right. And so that's how you handle that to prevent future stonewalling. All right. Click the link below. If I have a year-long mastermind program, all of these little things, as well as getting your game up for your relationships, your dating. I mean, when you're seeing a girl that you're really interested in, do you want to be her second or fifth or 10th choice? Or do you want to be the person that holds frame and is her first choice? And a lot of you guys cap and lie to yourselves, and you're very insecure and unsure about that. Okay. Be sure that you have your frame. Be sure that you have that you're the best that any girl could do when you decide that you're going to see her more than a couple of times. Okay. And in order to do that, it takes some skills, to include sexual skill, by the way, which is one of the major points that I'm hitting on with my mastermind group right now. These guys are learning to become very sexually powerful. So the alpha widowing or the sex isn't good, that kind of a scenario will never happen to them. All right. So if you want to up those skills, there's a link in the description. Set up a free consult and see if the program's for you. Thanks again. Take care. I'm trying to end the broadcast and I can't end the broadcast. Okay. Scouts out.